But it's one of the things that annoys me is the fact that we've now got contractors saying, no, we're a software company now. Please don't do that, because that puts in people's heads that I can build DocuSign in 10 minutes. So why the hell would I pay for DocuSign?
Let me rephrase the question that Alan and us are currently discussing. Another way to rephrase the same question is, hey, is Vibecoder X good enough to let a customer of Vibecoder X rebuild Vibecoder Y? If the answer is yes, I'm going to drop off as a customer because I've just Vibecoded my own Vibecoder.
Yeah.
So from a business perspective, I'm actually churning my customers if that's what my product is capable of doing.
All right, well, welcome, Alan. Or should I say, Martin? You look a little bit different today.
Hey, Alan.
Hey, yeah. I am Martin, but I've used AI to change myself into Alan.
Ah, did you build it on one of those apps that took like 5 minutes or less?
Oh, no, this is off the shelf. I'm paying $100,000 a year for it. It's worth it. Totally worth it for the 2 hours.
Okay, well, if that doesn't set the precedent for perhaps what we might be discussing today, then I don't know what will. But Alan, it's great to have you. For people that don't know, well, you've been on Bricks and Bytes at least twice.
Yep.
Third time lucky, maybe. But you're obviously the CTO of nPlan, so thank you for coming with us. And of course, we have Patric with us, which I'm guessing if you're listening to this, then you know who Patric is by now. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, good to have you back. And I think that it's interesting to regularly touch base on this subject because it's such a rapidly evolving market and technology, and so many differing opinions and stories coming out of it. And whether you agree or like it or see what's going on, it's good to get an update generally. So we'll touch base with you on that, Alan, and then if we get to it, we'll go into a little bit about home building. So there's been some interesting news about what's going on in the home building market. Is it going well? Is it going bad? Depending on what expert you speak to, I suppose is the answer to that. Then we have Todd from Woodchuck AI, who will be coming in to say hello and have a little chat about their product and where they're going. And then we will have Forrest from Parspec, who are just coming off the back of a 20 million Series A. So looking forward to it. But to kick this off, Alan, where are we? Actually, no, let me rephrase the question. I got it wrong.
Okay.
What is annoying you most about AI in the construction industry right now?
Okay. I like how you. How long have you got? How long is this supposed to be? I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cancel Todd. I'm booking for a different day because the list is long. I've got a lot of memes about it now as well.
Right? I've seen
but
them.
One of the things that is, it's not kind of recent. It's been lingering, but it's one of the things that annoys me is the fact that we've now got contractors saying, no, we're a software company now. And I'm like, you're not. But that creates all sorts of problems, not the expected kind either, right? So forget the fact that if leadership decides that the contractor is a software company, what's happening to the contracting stuff? And like, are you still building things? Set that question aside for a second. But then that means, oh yeah, usually what that translates to, by the way, is like, oh yeah, we'll hire a head of data science and 2 interns, and we're going to vibe code the crap out of anything that we can think of, and then think that that has solved all the problems in the universe, right? Which is also a pattern that is unfolding in a lot of other places because of a result of many different things, but also the fact that you can vibe code things that cosplay things that matter. And it's driving me insane because, like, look, I'll just pick on Lovable, right? And Lovable is like a very nice platform and it helps you do a lot of stuff. But I saw a video advert on LinkedIn, and I don't know why you would do this, even if you're Lovable. Like Lovable just raised, I don't know, a big pile of money. I think it's like a couple $100 million.
Yeah.
Right. And they made a LinkedIn video that they are promoting, and somehow it appeared in my feed and ruined my morning the other day. Where like the CEO is coming out, I was like, yeah, you know, we raised 200 million at a 1.8 billion value. I'm making numbers up. I don't actually know.
No, it's
Something
actually correct.
right. And it's like, and Lovable is we're only just getting started, and look at how this platform works. And I'm going to write a prompt to create DocuSign.
Ugh.
Right. And I'm like, please don't do that, because that puts in people's heads that I can build DocuSign in 10 minutes. So why the hell would I pay for DocuSign? And completely forgetting the fact that the reason why DocuSign works and we pay for it isn't because you can drop a little image of your signature onto a PDF. You could have done that in macOS Preview anyway, but it is because it's a very secure platform. You sign something and there are requirements that they fulfill in terms of security, capacity, storage, whatever, right? That mean that if you go and litigate the contract, you can take that signature as evidence, right? And I have vibe coded my own thing where this guy signed my contract because it was better than spending $12 a month on DocuSign. Doesn't stand up in court, right? So it's not, oh yeah, how long did it take to build DocuSign, right? Versus the thing that, you know, the moment you build it, 50 seconds later, there's probably some hacker in China usually that already has gained access to your documents.
And you know, hey, Alan, if I can briefly jump in before you proceed, and there's another reason why established software platforms add value, and that reason can, in many instances, actually be network effects, off-use term. But in the end, you know, if you're on the platform that I already have an account in, the value of me using that same platform already is higher. Imagine someone had given us a 3D printer to print landline phones in 1900. Would that have led to a faster phone adoption? No, because we all need to operate on the same landline and can't just make shit up, right?
I mean, there's probably also better ways to use a 3D printer even in 1900 if you had one, but yes.
Yeah, that's
Print faster cars.
Yeah. And I think like that's one of the things that worries me, is because like we're definitely heading in that direction now. Or like everybody thinking that they can just build anything using a prompt somewhere, presumably Lovable. And like there are very good reasons to use something like Lovable, right? If you're building a website to promote something quickly, great. If you need to build a dashboard that you're going to use once in your life based on some static data and you just want to look at some stuff and present, great. But we're sort of like crossing over a line where certain things need to be done with certain levels of quality for certain reasons, right? And people are just disregarding all of that because like, look, mom, no hands. I built this in 50 seconds with a prompt. But you can kind of fake the UI of anything. It's really like what's underneath that matters, and why is it being done that way? So like that's the bit that I worry, is because then that creates that false sense of security in a sense. Well, in many senses, actually, you can use security in many ways in that sentence, right? But you have this false sense of like, I can do these things now, so why would I ever pay for DocuSign, until at some point all your contracts get leaked, right? And then it's too late, right? And I'm using DocuSign, but like, you can use anything, right? Like, and I heard this so many times in my life where we would, for example, interview people for a job. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I thought about building something like nPlan, but then I looked at it and like I couldn't do it. Right?
Wait, Alan, you didn't build nPlan and Lovable?
No.
Oh,
No.
damn.
Right? Also because Lovable didn't exist back then. But that is not the reason, by the way. But
I was going to say, if it did, would you?
probably not, right? Like, the same way that we're not using Lovable now and like there are things where like there's a lot of good stuff, right? Like, so, like we use Cursor, we use Devin, we use a lot of tools, right? It's not I'm not saying, and I guess like this is not an anti-AI episode, but it is, let's actually think things through a little bit. Because otherwise, like, there are tools that work that do certain things that just get discounted away because we think we can figure it out with a prompt, and then it turns out we can't, right?
So
Patrick, you go.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I wanna pick up on that, Alan. So when the social medium that I actually spend the most time on, about 30 minutes a day, is Reddit. Believe it or not, old school.
You are a brave man.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, wow, every political camp, as long as it's at the edges, is on Reddit. Yeah. But it's good to immerse yourself, whatever, not talking about that. But so when you actually follow the there's a subreddit called Singularity where they talk a lot about AI these days, and there are other whatever, right? And so the place is full of only two extremes. There's only doomers and hypers. There's nothing in between in there, and it feels like general reflection of, I don't know, LinkedIn discussions, funding discussions, etc. And so I just want to pick up on that. So I'm neither an AI doomer nor am I an AI hyper. I think of myself as a person that tries to understand the axioms behind it in order to kind of figure out, okay, where do I want to allocate 10-year kind of money and not 1 year kind of money, and then I can cash out. That's also a valid investment way, by the way. It's just not mine. So I'm neither a doomer nor a hyper. I'm trying to understand what is the timeless part of AI. So here's my question to you guys. I'm not trying to be cheeky with it. I just find it a fascinating question. And for anyone who watched the movie Inception, one of the best movies, to kind of get your brain really screwed. So here's my Inception question with regard to vibe coding and Lovable. Not specific to Lovable. So if the vibe coding was ever going to be good enough, at what point will the vibe coders be used to code vibe coders? If the answer is they're already great, it should be today. If the answer is they will never be able to do it, why should I code something else with it? So that's my question. When can I code vibe coders with vibe coders?
Can't comprehend the question. I'm sorry.
I like it. I like the way you're thinking about it. And this is like, this is the takeoff moment, right? In Singularity. So I guess you can reframe it. And I would probably maybe even be more specific, which is, when does the coding agent not need a user anymore? Right? And we know already that the coding agents are doing some work on themselves. There's a user still.
Yeah. What does that mean, Alan?
Like, well, the Cognition Labs who developed Devin also use Devin to write Devin, right?
Okay.
It's like one of the basic principles that, like, if you don't use your own product for doing your own thing, then you shouldn't be building it. In the same sense that if nPlan ever have to build their own headquarters, we'll be using our software, right? But that one, the Devin one, or like the agents, without picking on a specific one, is way more circular, right? So at which point do you not need the user anymore? Because then Devin is smart enough to work on itself. And I think the bit that is really hard now is the review part. Right? So like most of the tools and the agents are very good at writing code that quote unquote works. But the difference between writing code that works and writing something that is going to take off, in a sense, is still very big, right? Without even just thinking about security, things like scalability, things about, like you've got the examples where the recent one in the news was like Replit deleted my entire production data.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that. Yeah.
Why did you let Replit have access to your production database and nobody's supervising anything, right? So and that's the gap that needs to be closed, right? It's not that Replit needs to become good enough that you trust it, but there needs to be something else that does that supervision that you then trust, right? So we're kind of at like, okay, I'm going to replace the intern/junior engineer, and you need to have something that does the senior engineer, the supervisor, the manager, right? So when is a very difficult question. Like, I don't actually know. I don't have a gut feeling for it, but I mean, I do have a gut feeling for it in the sense that I don't think LLMs are enough for an answer here.
Patrick, what's your answer to your own question?
I don't have one, but I will say this. I think it's sobering when you think about this way, because let me rephrase the question that Alan and us are currently discussing. Another way to rephrase the same question is, hey, is Vibecoder X good enough to let a customer of Vibecoder X rebuild Vibecoder Y? If the answer is yes, I'm going to drop off as a customer because I've just Vibecoded my own Vibecoder.
Yeah.
So from a business perspective, I'm actually churning my customers if that's what my product is capable of doing. If the answer is, well, it can't do that, why am I on that Vibecoder? So that for me is, from a business perspective, sort of, and customer value perspective, the really sobering question. So if it ever becomes powerful enough, it will actually lose revenue. If you guys are following my
Yeah, I do.
logic.
It becomes like a self-defeating prophecy, I guess, in a sense, right? I like the paradox.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the, well, if it can't do that, why am I even buying it question? Because like there's a lot of intermediate
There's
stages
prototyping and
you can do a lot of good stuff without having to write your own vibe coding platform, right? But I do see that circular argument, right?
But look, Alan, I mean, sorry, just to interject, you're absolutely right. But we should all keep in mind, like the forward price earnings multiple that AI currently commands is absolutely nuts. Even in the public markets, where I think the top 10 companies that are priced on AI forward PE multiple is currently at 80x. That is completely nuts. Some of them will deliver that, but in the private markets, we're seeing the same things. And so if, let's say, you're good enough to do prototyping, or you're good enough to do, basic apps, does that command that kind of a forward PE? Probably not. So you have to be really powerful.
And by the way, if anybody wants to buy my shares in nPlan at 80x revenue, I'll put my phone number.
I think that I get your question now, Patrick, and I have been seeing some cryptic tweets on X, which I think relate to the question perhaps you're asking. I couldn't understand what they meant when reading them, but now the dot has collected in my head, and maybe I'm going for the nuclear option here. But there is an account that tweets about how long they think these platforms have left, and I can't remember the production on Lovable, the date of Lovable, but it was like no longer than 2 years as a product or a company.
Is that like a doom clock type thing?
Similar, yeah. Like they're predicting all these like massively funded companies that are building some AI software that are okay, whatever you think useful now, but do not have a long shelf life, should we say? And
is it like satire, or do they put some substance underneath their predictions?
It's a provoking. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
They're trying to provoke people, yeah. Whether they truly believe it, whether they're trying to get views, I don't know. But I just found it interesting that when the vibe coder becomes the vibe coder, and do these platforms have much life in them left? I don't know. And this is perhaps where he is coming from as well, or whoever is running that account.
Have you guys seen
that, by the way, right? How much vibe coding can a vibe coder do if the vibe coded the vibe coder?
That's a good riddle.
Exactly. Have you guys seen Travis Kalanick posting that he's now doing vibe physics with ChatGPT? Have you guys seen that?
Nope. No.
It's hilarious. So Kalanick is one of the greatest entrepreneurs of the last 15 years. Legit. I don't care what anyone says. Never met the man. I have several friends who work directly for him, who were hired by him. They all think super highly of him. And forget the bro culture part. I'm not talking about that, just as an entrepreneur. So an accomplished person like that goes on X and puts out tweet after tweet basically saying he's now doing vibe physics, and with the power of LLM, he's short of a physics breakthrough. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, if that were the case, we would already have solved all science by now because LLMs are so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, now I have a lot of respect for Travis Kalanick as founder of Uber, and there's like a lot of things that I don't have respect for Travis Kalanick as well. But I think he is more on the hype bro end of the scale than realism. And my counter to that is, if Travis Kalanick says he's there, where are the PhDs in physics at that are using ChatGPT, right? And to me, this whole thing smells of the day that, like, and I bless my dad, right? But like, my dad woke up one day and absolutely convinced that if you take a generator and plug it into an electric motor into a circle, you've generated perpetual motion. And like, my dad's a little bit like that, right? But like, and I had to explain to him, like, there's like, no, because there's no such thing as free energy. And in an ideal situation, sure, but then you have friction, you have impedance, you have lots of different things that come into it, right? And to me, like, this statement smells of that. Like, there are some bits that, I mean, like, I would love to see the Travis Kalanick submit a paper to a physics journal and see what review and
cool.
has to say.
That would be cool. Unified field theory, and the authors are ChatGPT and Travis Kalanick.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Maybe I've got two interesting. Well, one actually, Alan. Okay, let me take a little rewind. The DocuSign reference, not taken away from what you said, was actually a mockery that Lovable done, because DocuSign gave a cease and desist order to Lovable, or a user of Lovable, because they have basically run the prompt a few weeks ago, build DocuSign.
It's hilarious.
So then,
But in a sense, like, you've confirmed that my point that this is getting stupid, right?
yeah,
Because
exactly.
that person that did that thing, I mean, sure, like, DocuSign now have their own part to play, and like, sending a cease and desist is also stupid. But like, how can you think that that is the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And ethics and morale are out the window. But I have to appreciate the guerrilla marketing here. That's pretty cool, I have to say.
I
I thought it was
didn't know
funny.
that either. I just saw the advert from Lovable and I was like, screw this nonsense, right?
So that begs a question. Have you seen a bit of a trend which has just come to my feed, particularly on LinkedIn, about VO? So Google VO, which is the video generator, ads that startups are starting to put out, or tech companies starting to put out, which are quite funny. Obviously AI generated, but a way to garner attention. I don't know if this has come across in any of the discussions that you have been having, or whether you have seen any, and what your thoughts are on such a strategy.
So I haven't, definitely not had the discussion. Personally, I actually love VO. I think it's an amazing model. In fact, the fact that they managed to pull off audio and video from the same model so that it is synchronized and coherent is mind-bendingly hard, right? And to the point, there's like no other model that can do that. And that part is great, right? And I have not, I mean, like, I've seen some adverts which are like obviously generated by VO, because no clip in the advert is more than 8 seconds. Which is like part of like source of frustration, right? I wish we could generate longer videos with VO. But yeah, I've not had the discussion. I think for now, for the most part, you can still figure out that some of it was generated, right? But there are some examples where it's impossible. And you know, if I'm a company and I have to make an advert, a video advert, instead of hiring a videographer for 10 grand to make me some B-roll, and then I slap it into like something with a voiceover, I'm definitely going to use VO, and I'll do it. I'll do it as well, right? And we just did our AI day. So AI day was in I think like a really special venue because it had projectors going all the way around, right? So we were in this box made of projectors, and you couldn't see it from the live stream, but it was really cool to be in the room. And some of the things that we were projecting on the sides while I was talking were generated with VO.
That's cool.
And I generated some additional fun videos. One of them I posted on LinkedIn from VO3. It was like to promote AI Day. And I think that is great because before we would have either had to go find some like generally bland stock videos and paid for those, or paid someone a lot more to go and make the equivalent, right? So I think there is a lot of value in that.
Patric,
and surprisingly, it's a lot less competitive, right? Because like everybody raved about Sora when it came out, but VO3 is like now miles ahead of Sora.
I used Sora in, when was it, Q1 and Q2 a lot, and I played with Hilo Minimax a lot. Actually, believe it, there was some where Minimax got me better result, and some, none of them had the audio to it, to your point.
I think that changes it, right?
Amazing. And then I found the prompting to be really hard. So that was certainly because I wasn't trained, I wasn't practiced, etc. I'm sure if I had another quarter to figure it out, I would have gotten better at it. But the prompting was I felt it was very different from a language model.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is.
Patric, what's your
It's a
viewpoint
lot
on
closer to
the VO ads? Have you seen any?
I've seen maybe some, but I'm actually not sure. I mean, I haven't. To be fair, I haven't hung out on social the last week as much as before. So maybe I missed a few. Of course, I've seen how Obama got arrested in the White House. So that I've seen.
I have not seen. That's the thing that worries me a little bit more, right? Like, and you know, you say about Reddit that it's only made of extremes. Also, a lot of people that live in the extremes are there because they are easily swayed. And then how much easier it's going to be to sway people in the wrong direction, right? So, you know, if I can make a video of, I don't know, Donald Trump saying that from now on, every project must use nPlan, US.
Dude, you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm going to do it. That's on your marketing.
That is
right?
Well, look, okay, my opinion on this is a fundamental piece of your marketing strategy is about getting attention. And if these ads get you attention and the eyeballs that need to see your product, then why not use them? And what you'll find is they probably have more potential to go a little bit viral and spread amongst if your target customer is of the type that is likely to spread these things, then I think it should seriously be considered. My only concern with it is, and this particular like AI generated ads that are funny, would it turn out to be like, remember when large language models came out and everyone was using it to create blogs, social media, and so on and so forth? It was cool, but now everyone is just sick of reading that type of content, and it's completely gone the other way. So would it have a very quick
the problem is that, which is how we all get sick of it, is the intellectual laziness that sits behind it, right? Where, and like I've used LLMs in the past to edit my posts, right? But it's kind of like, oh yeah, just write me a post about this, and then you got like, you know, those posts are like one line dot space empty line, one line dot, one line dot, one line,
and then starting with and then one sentence starts with like a question, the trick or question mark, and then it continues. So they're all like that.
And you can spot those. And like the thing that is annoying about those is not that what's in them is wrong or the fact that an LLM has been used, right? It's more that the person that wrote this was so lazy and cared so little about what they were going to say that they didn't even bother making it nice or useful. Why should I waste my time or space on my feed having my eyeballs have to see this, right? And then we get the instant reject. So that's kind of like that's the triggering bit, I think. And
I'm gonna get on an agentic AI subscription that will read my social feed for me, so that I don't have to read it, and then just tells me what I should pay attention to. Then the circle is complete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then what is the point anymore? Really. Quick one, Alan. You brought up an interesting discussion when you first started talking, because this is also the second time I've heard this in a week about construction companies becoming software companies. Apparently, so this is a discussion I had last Friday, perhaps, about large general contractors in the US vibe coding apps that they need on their sites, thereby making a lot of the SaaS that exists within the construction industry right now redundant. I didn't agree nor disagree, but I just thought that this coming up, obviously there's something there.
I mean, look, if you're vibe coding things that you need, and this is kind of the problem, right? Like vibe coding is not different right now to doing no code stuff 5 years ago, right? So if you could put stuff together in Power BI to get you a dashboard to do something that you need, you could probably also vibe code that dashboard. Fine, great. And it solves you a bunch of problems. But where it becomes a real problem is someone then saying, like, this is our future, and we don't even need Procore anymore because I vibe coded my own Procore, until you find out that the value in Procore is not the UI. I mean, first of all, it doesn't look that great, right? But the value in Procore is that you've built a place where everybody can go and put their documents. And the fact that they're stored safely and that you can access them quickly, and there's like good search functionality. There's like the whole set of things where you have a stack of technology that supports what you're trying to do and fulfills a particular benefit. Whereas, like, sure, I can vibe code the UI of Procore, right? And I can make it look like you're uploading your documents. And then they end up in a unsecured S3 bucket in AWS. And then it gets to the point where, like, okay, so then your subcontractors need access. How are you doing role-based access control and all these things? And like, and the answer is not, hey, Lovable, add role-based access control, right? Like, you need to think about it a lot more deeply. And that's kind of what you're paying for, right? You're paying for someone who has thought in depth about the nature of the problem, not a bunch of JavaScript, right? This is where I say, like, a lot of these things end up cosplaying the real solution. But the fact is that a lot of us are unable to distinguish between the cosplay solution and something that is actually working and important, right?
Patrick, are you back? I think you're having some technical issues. All right, cool. Yeah, did you hear the? Have you heard any similar points?
Not recently. I can see why that is of interest to GCs. Now, whether that is right or wrong, I think that we should pay attention to what you're saying, Alan, quite honestly. But I'll not comment on what could be reasons to do it or not do it. But what I will say as to that point is two observations. One, and sorry, actually it's the same observation. Construction is full of point solutions, and you will find GCs out there who have legitimately hundreds of specialized softwares to do a few things. And there has been a fatigue. I think we've all been talking about it in various forms over the last year or two, maybe. And so I do think that we're seeing two trends as to combat that fatigue among GCs. The one that I've been following more closely than this one is trying to fix the entire technology stack of my GC company, try to find ways in order to reduce the amount of software that I need, foster integrations, interoperability, foster perhaps the ontology that represents my way of being a GC, two other things we've discussed here before. And then the second one might actually be, hey, maybe I can vibe code a software that can replace these four on the job side, and it doesn't have to interact with other things. I don't know, like time, for example, timesheets and compliance check-ins and these two other things. Could I buy that from the market? I'm very certain, but then maybe it does too much, blah, blah. I would understand if GCs under sort of, this kind of bigger discussion, there would be people that would actually see vibe coding as a way to temporarily fix that, let's say. So with these two things, I would understand why that would be going on, yeah.
Yeah, and like we can all understand like why it's happening, right? And I agree with what you're saying. What I'm saying is that it's a very slippery slope, right? And the way GCs are set up as well they're making the slope slipperier. So there's definitely point solution fatigue. No counters from me about that. I agree. There are reasons why those point solutions exist, right? So like, why do we have one point solution for CAD and one point solution for scheduling and one point solution for, I don't know, like collecting point clouds and etc., right? But like all of those things that I've just said, you cannot vibe code, right? The moment you're vibe coding any of those things that I've just said, you're setting yourself up for an enormous monumental failure. Now, the problem here is the way GCs are set up and where all of this, like, we're now a software company comes from is leadership and innovation. And that relationship not being part of, call it the critical path of what the GC is doing, right? Innovation at pretty much all of them is that weird office over there. And a lot of times it's not even in the same building as the main office of the GC. Where like they're gonna come up with like some mad stuff that most of us are just gonna ignore in the GC, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, but they go to leadership like, we found you a way to save $400,000 a year on software contracts by vibe coding this. So innovation has a great win. Leadership is like, oh, we're cool now. We're now an AI company, right? And what they're not realizing is that is basically pressurizing a chamber that is already at incredible high pressure with very thin walls. Right? Because like GC is run on insanely thin margins with very little time to spare, and everything is like feels like you got it done by a miracle most of the time, and they do miracles all the time, and that's thanks to all the people that like break their backs to get shit done. Pardon the express, right? So like adding pressure onto that by like saying, okay, like now let's get rid of, I'm going to use an example close to home. Let's get rid of P6. Let's vibe code a thing that creates a schedule until you find out that that schedule is completely wrong because it came out of a vibe coded thing that is completely broken, but you didn't know because it cosplayed the thing and you didn't spend the amount of time that people spent on figuring out how to do scheduling well, right? And I'm using an example close to home because I don't want to go pick on other solutions, but
Yeah.
That's the thing that worries me about GCs, because GCs are already incredibly vulnerable, and they're always the ones that file for Chapter 11 when things go wrong. Not often that the owner or the client files for Chapter 11 when a project goes wrong.
No. Hey, Todd, you come in at a fiery time. Nice to meet you. Nice. Thanks for coming here. Yeah, we're with Alan. Alan is, I'm not sure you guys met. Alan is a CTO from nPlan, which is an AI company dealing with scheduling in the construction space. And Patrick, investor in the space. Have you guys spoke before?
Great to meet all you guys. Owen, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, Todd. So the headline of a discussion today is Woodchuck. You guys have secured $3.75 million seed funding, which I believe was oversubscribed. You were aiming to raise 2.5. You went. You had a little bit more interest than originally planned. Why was that the case?
I think we're really addressing two big problems right now that are hot topics, right? The need to reduce waste and the need to generate more power, more clean energy. So we're really hitting on a hot topic, and we had a lot of strategics that were really interested to be part of the round, and we're trying to build a cap table of strategics. So we went ahead and expanded the round and oversubscribed.
Nice. Could you tell us just very quickly, like what's the one liner? What is Woodchuck for listeners who might not be familiar with the platform? What do you guys do?
So we work with construction and manufacturing companies to identify wood in the waste stream and divert that wood. So instead of sending all of that wood to the landfill, we divert it, we process it into biomass, and we then provide it to our energy partners that turn it into reliable, clean energy. So we're reducing construction waste and at the same time providing a reliable supply chain for biomass energy.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. Maybe we have Alan here. I'm guessing there's some kind of AI element to it. So before you guys really nerd out on this, yeah, could you maybe talk to us about like how that process happens? Yeah, just talk us through what technology is used perhaps to identify the wood from the waste streams.
Yeah, certainly. So in this space, in waste hauling and material processing, the space is kind of devoid of technology right now. It's really ripe for disruption. So what we're doing is we're bringing AI, and specifically what we're using is image recognition or computer vision, and we're using that to help us pre-sort materials. And really, the intent here is usually when we talk to a construction company, there's a level of interest in sustainability, but they always want to know, well, how much more is it going to cost us? There's the assumption that to be sustainable is going to cost them more money. Mm-hmm. Well, we're using AI to drive efficiencies to flip the script on that. So what we're doing is turning their waste into value, so we're able to reduce their costs. So typically for a construction company we work with, we're going to reduce their waste hauling costs by about 30%. And in construction, of course, waste hauling is a cost of doing business. So if we can reduce that cost, that savings goes straight to the bottom line. So it's a big savings for them. And at the same time, we've got bioenergy producers that are trying to figure out how they're going to double their energy production in the next decade or two. So they're really looking for more broader supply chains of biomass. So by kind of connecting those two problems, we help our construction companies reduce their waste. We help them to reduce their costs. And at the same time, we find a really reliable, renewable source of biomass to meet the growing energy needs. So AI really is kind of the secret sauce that makes that math work for the first time.
If I can, so Todd,
Patrick.
see just for folks who have never dealt with the, let's say, wood supply chain or the energy, especially like biomass plants supply chain, just confirm or tell me where I got it wrong. So with Woodchuck, the idea today is not, hey, let's sort and then also help with the downcycling. So for example, let me remove adhesives or nails, etc., so that the wood can be reused in whatever, a downcycled way in another project. The idea is to separate the waste streams, dump less into the fill, and bring more into a biomass energy plant, so that actually that can be used as a source of, let's say, burning it and then generating energy. Like, where am I wrong, or did I get it right?
No, that's basically correct. So kind of historically, when people have looked at this space, they've tried to separate or sort out material after it's been commingled, right? Everybody throws everything into a single dumpster. You got this big pile of all sorts of different materials mixed together. Sorting that stuff out after the fact is very labor intensive. It's very inefficient, and no one's figured out a way to make that work. And there've been a lot of companies that have been trying, and they're using AI and they're using robotics, but it's not cost effective. It doesn't work. And we believe strongly that ultimately being environmentally sustainable is great, but if it's not also financially sustainable, then it is literally not sustainable. It needs to be both in order to be truly sustainable. So we take a pretty different strategy. We use the AI to help us pre-sort those materials. And we started with just wood, but our clients were really interested in the entire waste stream. So we now do wood, cardboard, plastic, cement, asphalt, metal, pretty much as many waste streams as they have. We've taught our AI algorithms to identify those different materials so we can help pre-sort all of those different materials. So then when we pull a dumpster of wood, we know that it's all wood because our AI has been watching that bin be filled. So we can recycle the cardboard, and we'll recycle the plastic and the metal. We'll turn the wood into bioenergy. So it works really well.
And depending on the market, you will actually have additional reporting requirements as a GC that is deconstructing. I mean, I've seen markets where actually based on the waste streams that you're pulling together, you now have to file reports to the local municipality, for example, how much of that is going where. In the Netherlands, for example, they were very pioneering in that regard, creates a lot of documentation. So with Woodchuck, that's an additional win. Woodchuck can help you actually automate these kinds of things as you use it more in the markets where compliance like that is required, I imagine.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So the Woodchuck.ai platform manages all those logistics, tracks all material from point of origin through wherever it finally ends up, and provides really detailed, meticulous reports on exactly what happens to all of those materials. What's the total tonnage of wood diverted? What's the net CO2 diverted after processing and transportation? What's the total amount of BTUs of clean energy produced? So we provide all this information back to our clients, and they can get it any number of ways. They can just log into the portal and look at it. They can set up automatic reports to be sent to them, or they can just pull it via API directly into their own backends. So yeah, all of those different agencies that they need to provide reporting to, we want to make sure we get them all of the data they need in a way that's easy for them to consume and share with who they need to share it with.
And I just want to paint a picture for everyone because I'm a construction amateur when it comes to on-site. So I'm learning every time I see a site. So next to my office in Berlin, we had high rises. Okay, so somebody decided it was smart to tear down a high rise that was previously built in 1995. So okay, I guess it wasn't cool enough anymore, so we have to replace it. So they tore down this high rise. Took at least 12 months. I'm sure I'm off like by a factor here, but it took at least 12 months to even do the deconstruction of that thing. And the reason why that happened, and that was something that I vividly remember, is because they actually were forced to take it down, not just cautiously, but also because they were supposed to, well, let's make sure we properly sort it. And then you would notice it on the bottom floor, people were building these piles. Okay, here's just the shingles. Here is just the window frames. Here is just this and that. So what you're working on is actually that's not a niche. That's the reality of construction everywhere nowadays.
Well, Germany is actually zero landfill, correct? So they have to find an alternative location for all of that. They can't send anything to the landfill. So they really do have some pretty high sorting and upcycle requirements.
Yeah, I think a very high degree. And so that obviously puts even more stress on not just the deconstruction, but then also compliance, documentation, etc. So I'm sure they would love a solution like yours here.
Hey, Alan, anything from me?
You preempted one of the questions that I was going to ask is like, why is it just wood? But it seems like it isn't anymore. And that was just the starting point. I guess like one of the questions that I've been thinking about is just for clarification is pre-sorting probably also has a lot of equipment requirement, right? So how do you fit in that picture? Do you also have to integrate with different pieces of equipment and whatever people might have? And I know nothing about sorting equipment, but I imagine that there's more than one.
You know, it really is. It's relatively simple. So I actually was in Berlin recently visiting a massive wood processing facility in Berlin, and they were processing a massive quantity of wood, but they were basically grinding all the different wood from whatever the source was into a single big pile, and then using a very elaborate robotic system to try to separate the different types of wood. And it was,
Sounds like
kind of
Germany.
your typical German way over engineered process, and it wasn't very efficient. In order to actually get the level of cleanliness of different materials, they had to send material through 3 times at least to get to the resolution of the different materials. So our system is really different, and there really isn't a lot of machinery. We have built a proprietary image capture system, which is basically a camera that we put on the dumpster to watch the material as it's going in, and we use a solar panel to power it, and then we have a CPU and an LTE that's built into it, so it's a standalone unit. We don't need power or data from the client. We just deploy one of these units directly onto the trash container, and we capture images and upload them to our cloud, and then we analyze those in the cloud. And so what we want, we have the dumpsters really clearly labeled. So we want the workers, as they're tearing apart these materials or as they have waste materials, to put it into the correct trash bin. If they put the wrong material in the bin, our system identifies that and communicates immediately. Like, here, superintendent, you've got you've got bricks in the wood container. Get them out immediately. And then we incentivize our construction clients, because if we have pure wood, we're going to turn that into energy. So we'll share the revenue back with the construction company. If we've got a clean container of cardboard, we're going to recycle that, and we'll get some rebates on that, and we'll share that rebate back with the construction company. So the construction companies are incented to comply, and the AI is really there to watch them and make sure it works and let them know when an error has been made. And what we found is, when we're on a new job site, it takes about a week to get everybody in line. And then we have really great compliance after that. I would say greater than 95% compliance. So when we pull a container off job site, we are very confident that the wood container is 99% wood. And we know that because our AI has watched the entire fill process. So we know everything that's at every level of that container.
And the
Yeah, no, that
recyclers
makes
love.
sense. That makes sense. I think my misunderstanding was that sorting requires some sort of automated equipment that splits things up and moves them around. But it's, I guess, like, from the physical perspective, is a lot simpler than that, which is just have separate bins.
Which is the
There
big
is.
strategic advantage of just really simplifying that. Because you're right, if you throw everything together and then try to separate it, it does. It requires a lot of machinery and robotics and all kinds of stuff, and it's not
Yeah.
efficient. It's not cost effective, which
No,
is why
thanks.
it's really not sustainable.
But the recyclers love it, right? Because I mean, the surcharge of a mixed bin is really there because they don't know what's in there. So they will make it cheaper for you because you tell them exactly what's in there.
Yeah, if I can deliver to a recycler a bale of cardboard and a bale of plastic that they know is clean and exactly the material they want, that's of a lot of value to a recycler. They'll pay for that.
Todd, very last question from me. Where does this funding now go? So what's the capital deployment?
So it really goes to two purposes. First and foremost, it'll continue to fund the ongoing development of our platform and the ongoing maturity of our AI algorithms. It'll also help us to continue to expand operationally across the Great Lakes. So we originally launched in Detroit, Michigan, about 18 months ago, and we've really expanded across all of Michigan. And what we're eyeing, with this seed round, is to continue to expand across the Great Lakes region, continue to develop the platform. And then in 2026, we plan to do a Series A and then really launch and try to grow in a SaaS first strategy, where we will take our technology to construction companies, manufacturing companies all around the globe that can then license this technology and use it to drive efficiencies in their own geographies, wherever they are.
All right, Todd. Well, thank you so much for a little snippet. Great to hear about you. And yeah, we'll
Well,
see
thanks
you.
so much for the invite. Great to meet all of you guys. Thanks for the great questions. Enjoy the conversation.
Good luck, Todd.
You guys have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks so much, and congratulations again.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, do you know what I really love?
Real applications.
Yeah,
that's like real cool value.
100%. And do you know what's also brilliant about it is that he's creating revenue streams for general contractors. Like, that's usually the recipe for a great business.
Well, and that's kind of thing. Like, you need to create incentives on both sides. Otherwise, someone's going to be lazy, right? And just chuck everything in the same bin.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, what usually a blocker to any of these kind of sustainable technology is it going to cost us more? And if it costs you more, adoption, I don't want to say forget it, but yeah, forget it.
Or they're going to vibe code it.
That was going to be one of my last question. Could you vibe code Woodchuck? But
no, and you shouldn't, right? What you're going to end up with is like something that like looks and feels like Woodchuck, but doesn't work.
Yes.
No, don't.
Hey,
And don't
but
forget,
Alan, synthetic data, right?
you need
You really want me to get angry, huh?
I think we should have Forest coming from Parspec any minute now. But in the meantime,
Interlude song. Owen's gonna do something for us.
I'm curious. Actually, let's have a podcast chat very quickly then. What platform do you record on?
I use Riverside, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you do know about these little things on the right hand side that do this.
Yeah.
That sounds very authentic.
That is too 90s sitcom for me, though.
Can you add there for the next show something like that conveys AI hype, please?
I think we'll just ask everyone, can it be vibe code?
Let's have a clip of Travis Kalanick. I'm sure we
There
can
you
find
go.
some sound bites.
Him speaking. I have no why don't we make one? VO.
Yeah?
Even better. Something about physics.
Have you guys seen the robotaxi discussion that Elon had on his latest analyst call? I think it was last night.
No.
Have you guys seen that?
No, I have not seen it. It sounds like I want to see it.
50% of America will have access to Tesla robotaxis by the end of the year. That's less than 6 months, right? I guess you can debate what access to means, etc. But if you were to take it quite verbatim, I guess it would mean that 50% of the population had access to the local service. Let's maybe interpret it like that. It's hard to believe, right? Because the way these robotaxis on Tesla have been operating for the last month in Austin has actually been under supervision. So can you even call them a robotaxi right now? I mean, definitely not in the Waymo sense.
Look, the robotaxi I actually like forget the robotaxi for a second. Let's just talk about Tesla while we're at it.
Forrest is here, by the way.
Don't believe any timeline that like Elon Musk would be the worst planner on the planet.
Hey, Forrest. We were just talking about Elon Musk robo-taxis as you joined.
Yeah, and I'm glad you interrupted us, to be honest. I was about to say something that but I'll just conclude the thought, which is the only question that we need to ask whenever Elon Musk puts a timeline out is, where's the new Roadster? Because it's supposed to be done in 2020.
Damn. 4 years later, still not here. Is this the one which you could get to from a junction box in the US? Like by the time the lights had turned green, you're the other side, like already through it. If you were at a red light, you were in a Tesla Roadster, and it was just changing, and you put your foot on the accelerator. By the time the lights went to green, you would already be like the other side of the junction box.
Yeah. It's look, the claims keep going up and up and up, right? And the 0 to 60 time keeps going down and down and down. But none of it's real because it's not appearing anywhere.
It's funny though, right? I mean, if you
stop.
Yeah,
but it's sorry for us. Before you come to you, so he's saying, okay, 50% of America access to a robotaxi. He actually doesn't give the definition of robotaxi, and right now it has to have a supervisor sitting in. So if he wants to legitimately fulfill that promise without having a true robotaxi, he will have to hire a lot of taxi drivers until the end of the year.
Like, technically 100% of the planet has access to a robot taxi. They just have to fly to Austin. So,
Hey, Forrest, are you with us? Forrest?
It seems he can't hear us.
I'm glad he didn't hear any of
Yeah.
stupid stuff that we were saying.
Okay. I'll drop him an email quick.
The beauty of live. Wait, are we doing another song?
Another song? Actually, yeah, we should just have
another interlude song while we fix.
Let's try
audio.
this.
Hey, but serious question.
Okay, Patrick, yeah?
Hey, but you two are in London, right? So London has a fantastic tube system. Never mind the smell or whatever, but just the access to it.
The temperature.
The temperature. So would a robot taxi ever, like a service, would that ever get meaningful traction in London?
No, but not for that reason.
I'm not getting audio.
If Waymo shows up in London, the cab drivers are going to start setting them on fire.
Oh, yeah.
We have like a very aggressive and spiteful set of cab drivers. Right? And I think
Messed up.
like Uber was on the receiving end of it for a very long time here, right? Until they basically gave up. And
Yeah, I see them all. But
Hey, Forrest, can you hear
us?
He says no. Hello.
And then you obviously have your national taxi OEM.
Who is?
Yeah, what's their name again? Sorry, basically I'm saying, hey, since the 50s you have, or earlier, you have the same design, and now they are actually electrical.
Yeah. Oh, well, like Alan says, the taxis. But even Alan with the protests. Forrest, you're all good now?
Yep. Sorry about that.
No worries. There is a small echo, but we'll live with it. We can cut it out the final edit. It's cool. So, Forrest, tell us. Well, first of all, actually, before I go there, congrats on the Series A raise. I think that was quite. When did we chat? Maybe last year or so, and that was just after your seed round.
Yeah. Well, we did the seed in April of 23. So midway through. Yeah.
Nice. So good timing. Tell us about the impact of AI then on the selection and sourcing of construction materials. And by the way, Alan is the CTO of nPlan.
Nice to meet you. Congratulations.
He's an AI nerd.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental problem is you have, product requirements, right, of what is being specified by the designer. And that exists, in text documents and drawings it's a large data set that you're getting from the designer. And the fundamental challenge is how do you match those pretty detailed technical requirements to products in the market that meet the sort of cost and schedule constraints of the project. And I think that's a great application for AI. It's able to make sense of the drawings and specs and extract a structured set of requirements. And then we're matching that to products in the market. There are thousands, tens of thousands of building product manufacturers. They have a lot of information that's publicly facing about their products, but it's kind of buried in documents on their website. And we're using AI tools to surface that up to the user, which in our case is the sales agent and distributor of construction products, and enable them to automatically match and identify products that meet technical requirements.
Nice. Okay, so I think you guys started with electrical, and now you've expanded the focus into more mechanical and something else. MEP, we call it
mechanical
here in the UK.
And plumbing. So we're MEP today. Correct.
Yeah. What's the strategy always to start like very narrow and then expand outwards?
Well, we wanted to make sure we had like comprehensive and current data for at least some segment of the market. And so in order to get the data that we have, we essentially crawl all of the manufacturers in that segment. So we started with electrical. We had a couple 1,000 manufacturers, and we wanted to make sure we were extracting all the important attributes from those documents. So we wanted to, in order for the product to be high quality, we wanted to make sure we had excellent coverage there. And then we've been able to leverage that infrastructure to more quickly expand into other categories, right? So again, we've sort of doubled or almost tripled now the number of manufacturers that we support on the product side. It's kind of a staggering amount of products. Like, it's with the global supply chain, it's gone up, I think, almost 10x, right, in the past 10 years in terms of like the number of SKUs that are available. So, I mean, right now, even the families of configurable products, we're up over, like 8 million configurable product families that are, supported on the site. And that's just MEP, right? So I don't know what it would be across all product categories for construction.
Maybe for context. Oh, go for it, Al.
Oh, sorry. Is this more about finding the suitable things that fulfill the design requirement? So all the components that you would need to do the fitting, or is it also about, I'm going to call it price optimization for lack of a better term, or is it both?
I mean, the vision of the company is to support the whole end-to-end procurement flow, right? So if you think about, and I didn't realize this before, I got a little bit deeper into the supply chain, but, sales agents and distributors play a key role, right? In given design specifications, identifying what's available that meets the spec. One factor in that decision is, of course, like the price and the lead time for those materials, right? Oftentimes there are many materials that meet the spec, and it comes down to what's the most cost effective to supply. And so that pricing information ultimately is provided by the manufacturer. But getting access to that at scale right now is not standardized as well. So you have distributors typically logging into portals individual to that manufacturer to get current pricing or storing that information into their ERP. And that's another application of AI, is to actually, bring in that private information, right? That isn't publicly facing and structured, and enable the quoter to have access to pricing and lead time, which is sort of the proprietary part of the data set, as well as like what's technical compliance.
Patrick, I think you had something.
Do you find that it's basically a two-sided market then that you have to build?
Two-sided meaning the contractor and the distributor?
Yeah, in a sense, right? It's more attractive for the contractors if you have more distributors and more products, but it's also more attractive for the distributors to work with you if there's more contractors looking for the types of products that they sell, right?
I mean, I think right now we're sort of trying to connect the supply chain from the supply side first. So even creating better connectivity between the manufacturer and the distributor. So essentially the distributor has, or sales agent has, full information available about what meets the spec, what it costs, where they have rebates or other incentives. All of that is step one. I think once you have that set, you can bring some valuable data to the buyer side on the contractor's side. And one component and one thing that we're hoping to do with the A-Rays is the post-sales activity, right? So for those that have been on the subcontractor side, tracking lead time and ultimately order status and delivery, right, is really challenging. Staying up to date on when is stuff actually arriving on my job site. And like today, that's largely facilitated over email. You have the distributor, right, like calling the manufacturer. And I think there's an opportunity to be much more proactive there, where we're going to build a portal where the manufacturer can just see current information on the status of all of their orders, right? And it's an amazing amount of time on the project management side goes into just keeping the contractor up to date on where their stuff is, right? And for those that have worked for subs, right, like that's one of the biggest sources of cost overruns, is you have labor on the job site and there's no material for them to install because it's late or delayed.
Interesting. Patrick, did you have something?
Hey, Forrest, a couple of things that have always fascinated me about the space that you're building in, but I'll limit it to two. So one, and I just want people to appreciate the immensity of the problem that you're tackling and why it's actually a very timeless, in my opinion, problem. So one, when I first immersed myself into construction, I don't come from the industry, so complete outsider, immersed, blah blah. It was sort of the question was, hey, why is there no e-commerce? And then I immersed myself, and my friends would ask me, hey, why is there so little e-commerce in construction? The let's say rough number used to be, hey, only 10% of the stuff gets transacted through e-commerce, 90% is basically offline, so to speak. So why is that? And in the end, I think the answer that I found for myself, curious if you agree with it, is, well, everything is high context and high engineering. So the amount of repeat purchases of the exact same SKU, it is there, but a lot of the things that I actually need to purchase, I'm calling my guy, because either due to the context, it's easier to communicate verbally, hey, Jeff, I need that thing that you sold me last week. You remember this kind of thing, but you wouldn't remember the SKU number or whatever. Jeff kind of knows what I did. Oh yeah, that's that. Or I would call Jeff because, hey, Jeff, I'm trying to do this. They're out of that SKU. What else can you offer me? Try putting that into a static taxonomy e-commerce system. That doesn't work. So in my opinion, that was always one of the core reasons why we had so low e-commerce penetration. Before I come to the second point, that's what you guys are helping with, no, right?
I think that we may eventually unlock that opportunity. I mean, I agree with the assessment. I mean, the data that I have is about 5%, I think, of sales or e-commerce in construction today. And
wow,
if you think fundamentally, right, it's the buyer isn't accustomed, meaning the contractor isn't accustomed to actually picking products out of a catalog, right? I mean, most large distributors have e-commerce components to their website. They're just not often used. And to me, the unlock is the buyer's used to providing the requirement and having the seller take the risk and spend the time to identify products in the market that meet the requirement. And for a project, a typical bill of material might be, 50, 100, 200 line items. So the contractor, it's a fundamental change in their behavior to go through a catalog that the distributor is hosting and buy that. But if using AI technology in real time, you can actually match a whole bill of materials to the buyer's requirements, meaning they provide the drawings and spec. And if you can instantly match that with a compliant bill of materials, now you have a way to unlock e-commerce, in my opinion, right? Because now you get a real-time feedback and you enable a lot more, rapid iteration or collaboration around the bill of materials. But the fundamental technology overlap or gap is, in my opinion, matching products to requirements, right?
right.
And being able to do that in real time. You have a stock and flow component, which I think you're hitting on, which is like commodity products that are reordered by the customer. And that's a natural application for e-commerce. It's just not it's not most of the sales today that are,
that's the 5%,
that are of that type. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
there's more opportunity to bring e-commerce even to that segment. A lot of that is still not e-commerce, but, it's more like 10 to 20%, not 100% of sales are going, possible through that mechanism. Yeah.
So for me, this is a fantastic and fascinating application of large models. Actually, I think this is a real interesting case to help both salespeople and buyers on both sides add basically automation to the whole context and specification problem. And then the other thing, real quick, that fascinates me about your space is the whole discounting that we see, especially in mature markets, supply chains. Like you're working on that with Parspec too. Give our audience perhaps a flavor of just how the whole discounting and rebate system is so complex out there.
Yeah, sure. So you have, in often cases, depending on the product segment and the market, you can have essentially two layers to the supply chain, right? You have the distributor, and then in many cases, you'll have a sales agent, which is kind of responsible. It's like third party that's selling on behalf of the manufacturer. And they have their own commission structure and pricing agreements. And when you layer like the distributors agreements with the agents agreements on terms of how they can sell, it ends up being fairly complex, right? In terms of how pricing is applied to the end buyer. So our approach here is that we're just building that logic in so that the quoter in our case, right, the person that's actually deciding the price, they have all the information that they need to price it accurately, right? So they know historically what that customer has bought that material for. They know what rebates they have. They know how close they are to hitting those rebates, right? All of that is essentially information that empowers the quoter to make better decisions around pricing.
Very good.
And
Okay,
there have been big software businesses built on just that functionality. I mean, these are CPQ businesses. In other verticals, they have been yielding unicorn outcomes just on that functionality alone. That should be pointed out.
Yeah, there's rebate management tools that are just used by wholesale. I mean, Enable is one, right? That are billion-dollar businesses just by making that easier and surfacing better information to the distributor.
Okay, Forrest, one last one, and then we kick you out. What did you learn from? I'm still figuring out the most polite British way to yeah. Anyway, what's something that you learned whilst taking Parspec from seed to Series A in the business building?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, in a startup, you're always there's always the thing that needs to be done. That's the hot fire. That's a more of a tactical thing. I think what I learned is really it's the people, right, that are driving value for the business. You want to recruit great people, and that really, in my opinion, relies on really understanding, having a clear vision for the business 10 years from now, right? And so, and being able to articulate that. And that's really what, in my opinion, the right early employees are the ones that are really bought into that vision of the business. So oftentimes founders can see that as a waste of time, is really building out the values and mission and of the business. I think that's really important, if nothing else, for as a recruiting tool to make sure that, you know, those early hires are buying into where you want to be, you know, 5-10 years from now.
Very good. I like it. Unique. Cool, Forrest. Thank you. Congratulations and good luck.
Good luck, man.
Congrats.
Cheers.
Well, thanks, Alan, for joining us. You were much more exciting participant than Martin, so thank you.
Well, here's the plot twist. I am Martin, right?
Now you're about to reveal yourself. Your AI credits have run out.
Yeah. Oh, I all of a sudden it blurs into like Martin on a green screen.
Hey, what happens when you actually can do this and you start like saying some bad things about your competition live on air and no one really knows it's not you?
You can do this. Not quite live, right? But you just get a Synthesia account and great. Like I've got a Synthesia clone of me.
Yeah.
And I sometimes use it to do funny stuff.
You do?
Yeah. Only internally, but yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I guess that's my super secret plan to do all these podcasts, is that I can feed the beast once VO3 can support live streaming. You just feed it everything, and then basically you've just virtualized yourself. Have you guys seen? Sorry, come on, we have to end on that note. So
Yes.
Brian, what's his name? I forget the last name. The longevity guy. You guys must
Brian
know him,
Johnson,
right?
yeah.
Brian Johnson, right? And so Brian Johnson has now pivoted to my whole vitamin longevity kind of business. It's too distractive. I don't want to do that anymore. But now I'm founding a new religion, and that is the religion of basically uploading my consciousness into the AI, and that's the definition of longevity now. So
of course he was gonna go there, right? So I have two things to say. Like one is like he was already in his own cult and he just changed the nature of the cult. But the second one, which is more important, is, and like some people disagree with me on this, but I have had very, and this is one of the things I've had probably the most heated arguments about, which starts with, which seems like it has nothing to do with this, but you'll see that it does, which is teleportation is murder.
oh, yeah, that's an interesting philosophical argument. Star Trek.
Self-upload is suicide.
I think we need to end right now. What do you think?
That's something for deep thinking. I like that as an ending note.
Okay, to be continued. Alan, when you come on for the 4th time, we will start with that question.
Anytime you want. I can do a 5-hour episode on just this.
Okay, so if you are, if it's not you and it's someone else, we know what's happened to Alan, right?
Like, literally, like, if you make an identical clone of me and then destroy me, I don't exist anymore.
100% true. 100% true.
Thank you, guys. On that
This
note.
is true in the synesthesia sense or whatever. But yes. And on that.
All right. Alan, hope to see you soon.
Bricks, bucks, and bucks.